Welcome to our second discussion for the Wizards for Environmental Protection campaign. This one is about the Black Lake, and we did a whole challenge that was focused on plastic, single-use plastic, and how it affects the environment, and specifically bodies of water. So, yeah, we're just gonna kind of have a casual chat about different things we've been talking about throughout the challenge and learning ways that we can all make a difference. Um, so to get started, we can just talk about the amount of plastic that humans use and how it affects animals. So what does everybody kind of already know about just like the problems in the world as far as plastic pollution goes?
Well, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is I'm pretty sure everyone knows about the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. Like, that's pretty infamous. And then I think, at least like in like social spheres that I'm in, like everyone knows about, plastic straws are a problem, because, they can get stuck up a turtle's nose.
Right.
Or even, long ago, in the area I'm from, there was a lot of issues with those like plastic ring things that go
Mhm.
around like cans of soda. And people weren't
Howdy.
cutting the yes, that thing.
Better cut
Uh,
that
I
up.
haven't seen one of those in years.
yeah. So and people weren't cutting the rings open so that, animals like birds wouldn't get like caught in
Mhm.
it. Um, and I think those are pretty much in the public consciousness in terms of like
Yeah.
big plastic problems. But I think at least one of the things I always forget is basically anytime you get stuff from a big box grocery store, there's some sort of like plastic packaging with it. Um, Unfortunately, now there's like a lot of different ways to like reuse it or recycle it. But I think like a few years ago, there wasn't like the whole, I'm forgetting what it's called, but like there's like a
The
certain company,
TerraCycle.
TerraCycle. Yeah, there wasn't that for like chip bags and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, even that, it's like you can find them at some stores, and I know you can recycle certain like softer plastics at some grocery stores. But I debated for a long time whether I wanted to buy one of the TerraCycle boxes because it was like a little bit pricey, and then I was like, I'm paying this much for like a them to send me a box for me to fill up with
Yeah.
trash, and like I'm gonna send it back. But at least that way it's getting recycled, and it's like harder to recycle items. I should have brought it in my room with me, but yeah, so I bought like one for just like food packaging, like chip bags and just like that type of plastic that you can't put in your normal recycle bin.
Mhm.
And I've had it since Christmas, I think, and it's only about halfway full. So I think I can get away with like a whole year's worth putting in there. So that's good. I think it's worth it, but
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
hopefully it'll be more
interesting.
affordable soon.
Yeah. It's interesting to me, like, having like been in Japan for quite a while. Like I lived there for like 5 months one time, and their recycling system is like so meticulous. Literally every plastic thing you buy has its own like designated, yes, we can recycle this. This is where you put it.
Wow,
Um,
that's
but
cool.
like I feel like there's still in the US and Canada at least like a lot of different types of plastic that certain municipalities like won't recycle.
Yeah,
Uh,
and it's confusing and it's really not intuitive because it's like I'm always looking at the little number on the bottom, and it's like it has to be like a one or a two to
mhm.
definitely be recyclable. And if it's like a seven, it's probably a no-go, and like a five is usually a no. So I'm like, why does it like I don't know what to do, like where do I take my number five plastic? Why can't they just use the easier to recycle one?
Yeah.
But I mean, even with that said, what's the number? Like only 9% of plastic gets recycled. Uh,
Yeah.
and a lot of it that even that you put in your recycle bin, like it doesn't necessarily get recycled, which is pretty unfortunate.
Yeah. That's actually like a really shocking statistic to me. And like it almost makes me feel like sorry for everyone who does try to recycle, because it's like we're trying so hard, but like the effort isn't really going anywhere. But it's not, unfortunately, like it's not one of those things that we specifically can help fix. Like it's, governments have to, make an effort to have better recycling programs, and like I guess researchers that create ways to reutilize plastic have to kind of figure out, better ways to do that. So I guess like we can put pressure on people, but in the end, it's like still up to other people, which kind of sucks.
Yeah, and that's kind of where the like zero waste movement comes in, because it's not so much like an emphasis on recycling now. It's you don't even want to have something that you need to recycle. So having like compostable is better, or just no plastic at all. And you mentioned the little rings, and nowadays it's a thing with the masks, like the disposable masks. Cut the strings, because you see all those pictures of them like around the birds' necks and stuff.
Yeah.
So
what's the recycling like where you are, Nicole? Is it like, do you have a program? Because I know some cities actually don't even have one.
So I'm in like Toronto, so it's like the biggest city in Canada. So
wait, that's where I'm at usually.
Oh, then yeah. So we have a pretty decent recycling, and there's like a separate garbage to throw like food garbage into and all that sort of stuff. I actually have an uncle who runs, or I guess he retired like a year ago or whatever, who like owned / ran a recycling facility in BC. So like, but yeah, so sort of some interesting things from him, because very much a for the environment person.
That's cool. I would totally just like ask him so many questions if I knew him. Like one thing, I know where my mom is, for like bottles with caps, they tell her that they should be separated.
Mm-hmm.
But where I am, they're supposed to be on, otherwise, because if the plastic is like smaller than like a credit card size, it will fall through and like not get recycled. So mine have to have the caps on.
Oh,
so it's confusing. Like,
yeah, that's it. That's another thing. Like, because of the fact that like the recycling rules aren't uniform, like, if you move somewhere and you're not aware of like the new recycling stuff in the area that you're in, it's like things can get, I guess, like messed up. And then sometimes if like, I know there's like certain rules in my area about like, oh, if your recycling is mixed by accident, then we won't take any of it. And it's like, well, but can't you just take the ones that do work?
Yeah.
Like, or if it's not super clean, like if someone forgot to rinse out a can or something, then they're like, oh no, we won't recycle it. And I'm like, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they say it'll like contaminate the whole load, but
yeah,
like with pizza boxes, if it has grease, and I'm like, it's not going to contaminate everything. Just
wash.
But I'm sure it's really like complex process.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, having like a uniform system across, an entire country, is probably the best way to go. But definitely, like in North American culture, that's not the way things are done. And I'm not sure about like Australia and the UK. We'd have to ask some of our other team members what it's like there. But I know in the US, the system is definitely like very piecemeal and lacking.
Yeah.
How's the system where you are, Allie? I would assume it's pretty good, but maybe I'm just...
Yeah, New York. That's a good question.
Yeah. I mean, in theory, it's good. But it's weird because like every apartment has its own, like every like building or neighborhood rather has like its own rules. And then every, the super of the building controls the recycling. So sometimes it's done well and sometimes it's not. And it's just kind of confusing because like we were told that we didn't have to separate the recycling. So we just started putting it all in like one bin, and then my roommate went out to put recycling in, and I don't know if he was the super or somebody that the building hired was like separating, and she was like, oh, I thought we didn't have to separate. He's like, no, you don't have to, but then like I'll separate it. And it was just kind of, I don't know. So I feel like there's a lot of like confusion between like what has to happen and what doesn't. And like at my parents' house, I remember in like high school, we had to separate. We had one can for plastic and one for paper. And then in college, at some point it shifted. And now for the last like 5-6 years, we haven't had to separate. So you just put it all in. But then there's all these rules. And I had a friend who worked at Woodstock whose friend's dad, I think, worked in recycling. And anytime we'd like put anything, just like even like a soda can, she's like, oh no, that can't be recycled because of like this film over it, or this can't be recycled. And it was just like so disheartening to like hear all the things that actually can't get recycled because of like packaging and all of that. And so I was taking my soft plastics to Whole Foods before COVID, and they would accept them, like any kind of, grocery bag or like plastic, sheet film over like a product or something. But then with COVID, they like stopped that program. So it's like hard to see all of the plastic and stuff and not know what to do with it. We just bought, though, which might be like, you were maybe going to get into this, like for the preventing plastic pollution, but we just started buying, my mom's been buying it for a couple of years at the house, but we just started at the apartment that Who Gives a Crap toilet paper that comes in like all paper only. So there's
I've
like
never heard of that.
Yeah, so because usually they're like individually wrapped, or like the whole thing is wrapped in like a plastic film, but this company does all paper packaging, which is nice. I mean, it's still like shipped, and like then you have to think about airline and all of this, everything. It's just hard to be. I always think of like The Good Place and all those like good points, and like you try, but then like all these things knock you down a bit. But yeah.
You could get a bidet.
Yeah, we actually have one. We have 2 bathrooms though, and I don't use one of them. My roommates have that. I kind of have like my own because I'm like, I like need everything to be like really clean, and so like I clean mine like every day. Like I don't know, but anyway, so like they have the bidet. But yeah.
Catherine, did they have those in Japan when you were there? Isn't that like very?
Yeah, they do. I mean, I never use them, but
I don't know how I feel about it.
No, they had pretty interesting toilets there for sure.
Yeah. Which, speaking of Japan too, I always hear about how everything is just spotless. In the cities, like everyone's really good. Like they'll take their trash home and throw it away. But, and I'm not trying to place blame, and I could be wrong, but as far as the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, I feel like I've heard that a lot of that waste is coming from that area. Maybe not Japan specifically, but a lot of it comes from there. Like they just dump trash in the ocean. So that always like seems so conflicting to me, because it seems like all of the residents are really just like aware, and they really care about being sustainable. And then I hear those facts and I'm like, what? So that's probably another, just the industry or the government that needs to be adjusted.
There's an interesting history about like recycling and trash on city streets in Japan. So I mean, I will concur, like the streets are usually very, very clean. I mean, they've got great, municipal systems for like people making sure that the streets are nice and safe and clean and all that stuff. But it is very, very difficult to find a public trash can or recycling can. And the reason for that is because there were like domestic terrorist attacks a couple decades ago. And they involved someone putting something in a trash can, and then it kind of it was like a gas attack type thing. So most of those receptacles have actually been removed from the streets. So people, whenever they do have trash or recycling, like, yes, they take it home with them, and then they make sure it goes like in their proper neighborhood trash or recycling thing. So it kind of like changed the like responsibility from being like the city's taking care of all of it to it's like a thing that you're personally responsible for. And I think people kind of took that to heart, because they were like, okay, well, the city's not providing like, public trash cans, so we have to take care of it and we have to make sure that, we deal with it. And I think socially that's like a thing that's different between like specifically Japanese culture and then like US culture, is that there's like sort of like feeling indebted to society as a whole and like doing your part type of thing. I don't see that working in the US sense because a lot of people aren't very like, I will do my part for society. Like everything's very like self-oriented. But yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and I feel like a lot of people feel like making these small individual changes in their lives won't really make a difference.
Mhm.
But again, if everyone decides to do that, it'll make a huge difference. So
Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
true.
hopefully
just-
more people will get on board.
It reminds me of how my hometown, where I'm currently stationed, they literally just decimated most of the recycling program because it wasn't financially beneficial for them. And they're like, well, you can drop your recycling off in another place, like in a private center or another city, or you can do this thing, we're teaming up with a private company to recycle their glass and stuff like that. And I'm like, you're making it more difficult, and the people here would rather pay a couple extra cents per year to have a recycling program. Like, we don't care about that it costs a little bit more, we'd rather still have it intact fully, like so I mean, people
Well,
do care.
Not
I-
everyone would agree with that, but they should
yeah.
if they can. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I think bigger cities have a better track record of having recycling programs. I think it's when you get to smaller towns where it starts to be like less beneficial financially to have them, because you're putting all these resources to something that not a ton of people are using actually. Whereas in big cities, it's like, millions of people are using this program, so it's actually working and you're not losing money on it. But yeah, that was another.
Do you guys follow like For Ocean or the Ocean Cleanup?
Not yet. I mean, I should. That is a thing, but
I think I follow For Ocean. I ordered a bracelet from them and then it never came. And now, like, this was like 2 years ago, but I think maybe I didn't order it. And then I literally hadn't thought about it. And I was like, I know that I intended to, like, I pressed go. And then I was like, I just hadn't thought about it since then. So that
is
reminds
that like,
me.
do they make those out of like plastic that they collected from?
Yeah. Yeah. And some,
cool.
yeah,
Like,
it's cool. And they have little like, what is it called? Like a little, like, sometimes they're like the beads and the string, and then they have like a little turtle or like a little dolphin, like a little
A
I
charm.
can't remember the word. Charm. Thank you. Yes. And yeah, I think I ordered like the sea turtle one or something for my mom. And then that's so funny. I haven't thought about that in a while. But anyway, they're a cool company. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think for every bracelet they sell, it's like they collect a pound of trash or something.
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, and then the Ocean Cleanup, they're the ones I follow the most. I'm just so inspired. Like the CEO, I think when he was 18, he like created this company, and now they have like these huge vessels that go out, and the goal is to collect all of the plastic from the garbage patch. And they're also working with a lot of different like major rivers that feed into the ocean, because that's where the trash comes from, like collecting it before it gets to the ocean. Yeah, so I think it's really cool. And
do they take volunteers?
they do. They're based in the Netherlands, but they probably take volunteers remotely. I don't know.
I feel like my OCD and like need to like clean things up would really love like just picking things out of the ocean, like, and be like, oh yes, there's another one that's out of there. Like
Yeah. Well, have you ever done an ocean cleanup or anything like that? I used to live in Florida, so I guess it's a little bit easier to do
I
there.
mean, like I'm from the Midwest, so we don't really have any oceans.
Yeah. I mean, you have lakes. I guess you could do that.
We do have like lakes and streams and stuff like that. And I guess maybe I have done like smaller, like non-ocean cleanup things before with like Girl Scouts and everything. But yeah. No, that would be like really, really cool. Just like go on a ship and pick trash out of the ocean and make it cleaner. And it reminds me of like, I'm not sure if the two companies you mentioned or organizations you mentioned are the ones that do this, but there's like certain companies that like take the ocean trash and like make textile out of it. Or like use it in a recycled way for like making shoes and stuff like that. I'm not sure. Do you know if those are the same?
I know. So the ocean cleanup, I know more about them than for ocean, but they're like developing ways to, because it's like you have to clean it and it's like been in the ocean for like decades. So the fact that they can even reuse it is kind of impressive, but they made their first product like earlier this year, I think it was, and it's sunglasses, but they're pretty cool. They're a little bit expensive, but it's like all the money that you're paying is going towards helping them further develop. But I don't think they make anything else yet, but the plan is to make more items.
I know there's like didn't Bonnie Wright work with a swimsuit company that like made bathing suits out of like plastic bottles or something?
Probably.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So I think that's a thing that's happening. And then your question, doing like beach cleanups. I'm actually, I think on June 6th, I think it is, there's a beach cleanup. And so there's this vegan restaurant in Astoria in Queens called Savage Sickos. And it's like a shark themed restaurant. And I haven't been there, but they have a lot of like seafood or sea animal, but like vegan, obviously. And they have like drag brunch every Sunday. It just looks like a really fun restaurant. And they're doing a beach cleanup on the 6th, and I might go with a friend.
That's awesome.
And then have like a beach day, which is cool.
Oh, yeah. Then you get to just hang out at the beach.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I used to do that, like beach days or beach cleanups when I was little, when we lived in California, because we lived on the coast in Monterey, like in Northern California. So we do like tide pool cleanups and stuff, because tide pools are so cool. And I had another thought that's super random, but he wasn't the inventor of styrofoam, but he was like the inventor of like the styrofoam cup, or some kind of like the heir to a styrofoam cup person. Like if you look that up, I think the name is like Dart is their last name, but one of them bought like 25-30% of like all the real estate in the Cayman Islands, which I think is like ironic because it's like styrofoam is such a big like contributor to, all this ocean plastic and trash. And he has a house that's actually right next to my aunt's house in Cayman. And every time I look at the house, I just get grossed out because I'm like, it's not their fault necessarily, but like, like all of the styrofoam cups that I see just like make me so sad.
I thought you were going to tell some cool story about how the heir of whoever invented styrofoam was like now doing something to get rid of styrofoam.
Oh, no. He's like long dead. Whoever invented styrofoam died.
That's where you were going with that.
Sorry, no.
Oh. That would be cool. So they're not going to watch this video, but if they do. Yeah, and as far as ocean cleanups and stuff, like you don't even have to wait to have like a group. I mean, when I was younger, I'd go to the beach and I would just, if I saw trash and I was walking by, I'd just pick it up, And in the neighborhood I used to live at, we had like some lakes. So I bought one of those like long like grabber things so I don't have to touch it, and I would just like walk around and get all the trash, and I felt so good about myself. So I think if everyone just did that like in their own neighborhood, then that would be helpful.
Well, the perfect timing of lifting this plastic thing was because I was walking this morning on the way back from ski or on the way to ski, and I found that on the floor. So I brought it back with me to
Oh, nice.
cut up before I throw it out.
Yeah, you should cut it on screen, be like symbolic.
Oh yeah, I should. Can House of Serpent get points for that if I record it and post it?
I'll get some points for that.
I'm not doing it just for the points. I'm doing it for the environment, but like,
place points.
Yeah, so not to mention, I think a lot of vegan or animal rights activists kind of sometimes overlook the environmental aspects, because we're always talking about like, why are you vegan? Is it for ethical reasons or for the environment? But I think the environment ties in so well with animals because it's all of the animals in the wild are dying from ingesting plastic or getting tangled in plastic. And fishing nets, at least in the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, they account for 86% of the large plastic there. So, and then bycatch from like the fishing industry. So, it definitely affects like trillions, billions of animals every year. So I think trying to reduce plastic consumption is basically just as important as reducing meat consumption, personally.
Or in this case, like seafood consumption.
Seafood consumption, yeah.
It's so intrinsically tied together.
Yeah, and a lot of times people like fish is kind of the last thing they give up because they feel like it's not. It's
right
not
when actually
bad.
it's really the first thing they should be thinking about giving up.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a friend who is obsessed with sharks. She's actually the one that we're going to do this beach cleanup with, and she's not vegan or vegetarian or pescatarian or anything, but she loves sharks, and she's always posting about like how sharks are getting tied up in fishing nets and how like sharks are, being hurt. And I'm just like, well, then you go out to like a seafood or sea animal restaurant and like consume crab and fish, and it's like the act of fishing is causing your favorite animal to be, killed. And it's just, I've sent her so many things and I just don't think it's like clicking, but we'll get there. But it really is. And like the amount of bycatch that happens in fishing, and it's like sea turtle. I mean, all animals and all sea animals deserve to live. So it's not that, the fact that sea turtles and dolphins and, sharks and all of these beautiful creatures are getting hurt, that's not more important than the fishes and the crabs that are being, caught and eaten. But it's something that like people don't realize, and if they do, it doesn't like register, I guess. I don't know. It's
yeah. And a lot of we'll talk about this a little bit more, we can transition into food waste, but a lot of, especially in the fishing industry, the food that, the animals caught used for food go to waste, and we're basically depleting the ocean of fish, which if people do care more about sharks or turtles or dolphins, that's their food source. So we're taking it away from them. And yeah, it's just not necessary. There's this park, and I guess you're allowed to fish there. And every time I go, I'm just like, I want to yell at everyone. Like, why is this fun to you?
Yeah. Although to be fair, the type of fishing that really needs to stop first and foremost is like the
commercial
trawlers
exactly.
And like that type of stuff. Like and big factory farm type fishing, and like those are the problematic, mostly like the most problematic types of fishing. I mean, I personally do think all types of fishing are problematic, but like we're not about to be like going up to people on the pier being like, you shouldn't fish.
I know. I refrain, but
I mean, in our hearts we want to, but like
as long as they're picking up their like fishing nets and like the hooks and everything, like
it's like the the trawlers that go through the ocean and catch more than what they should. They are fishing in protected areas. They're fishing and catching like endangered species, and like some of it's done illegally sometimes, like and then of course leaving the nets in the ocean, like you said, like 80 something % of the trash in the ocean is nets. Like that's ridiculous to have that much come from one single industry.
Are fishing nets can they not be used again? Like why do they just
I think it's
leave
because I mean, maybe I'm just postulating here, but like I think sometimes they break off from the ship, and then
they
they
just
kind
don't go
of
back and
leave
use
it and
them?
let it go.
So they
Like,
get a lot of holes in them, and basically, if it gets a hole in it, it's not going to stop. It's not going to work as
Right.
catching fish anymore. So at that point, it's not doing what it should. So
Well, then I guess
basically
they need
like
to make
discard it.
them a little bit more durable. They sound
actually, no, because they use this is one of the big things that's sort of like kind of like really awful is they used to be more durable, but then people got really upset about the fact they were catching dolphins. So then the whole like dolphin safe was you made weaker nets that would break that would theoretically break if they caught a dolphin. It doesn't really work that well, but like that was part of the idea. So now the nets break more.
Oh, wow.
and now the dolphins
mean,
get stuck in them out in
Best
the
way to win in this situation is just to not fish and not use them.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
well, I'm glad you knew that piece of information, Nicole. 'Cause I was like,
Yeah.
any possible reason other than, you know, they just kind of like lost the nets. Like, I wouldn't, like, who in their right mind would just dump all that trash in the ocean? Like, but of course people do. So,
Another thing I think is interesting, you mentioned the straws and like the sea turtle's nose, which is an example of how media can influence on a large scale, because if you just told someone that happened, it's not as effective as everyone seeing those photos and like the video of the straw stuck in the turtle's nose. But so that kind of created this whole wave of don't use straws, but like what about the cups? What about the styrofoam containers? There are a lot bigger things than the straws. So I think it's a step in the right direction, but I hope that people don't stop there and like seems like kind of jumping on a bandwagon sometimes, like, oh, the straws, but
Yeah.
there's a lot more than just straws. Like that should be the intro into the world of realizing that plastic is harmful.
yeah, it's like because like with Starbucks, they were like getting rid of their straws and then replacing it with a plastic lid, and I'm like, okay, well that's still plastic. Like, good for you for getting rid of the straws, but
well, they had lids and straws, right? And then they I think they just like redesigned the lid so that you can drink out of it, instead of needing the straw. So
yeah,
it's better, but yeah, like what about the tops?
There's also like a lot of, I mean, I know that when all the reusable straws came out, everyone got like 5 straws and like all different colors, and they like lose them and then get more. And it's just kind of like also sort of defeats the purpose when like, you're constantly getting new, like one metal straw should last you like years, but it's difficult because like, I don't know. And then the other thing with straws that I didn't, and this is kind of off topic, because I was very much of like no, plastic straws shouldn't be allowed. They shouldn't have straws at restaurants and everything. But there's a lot about like disabled people needing straws, and I think it's like an option that restaurants should have like a stack ready to provide, but maybe not give to people who don't need straws, sort of thing.
Right.
And so there was like, all the noodle straws and like the wheat straw and like all different kinds of, and I think that like having an option is still good. Like one of my favorite burger, it's a hard choice in New York, there's so many options, but burger places in Brooklyn is called Next Level Burger, and it's like one of those Whole Foods restaurants, and they provide paper straws, and like I like that, but then by the end of like drinking my milkshake, the straw is like, it's like all like, and it's kind of hard to drink out of. I'm like, ugh. Like I'm not, it's fine, I just have to drink it faster, I guess. But
this conversation like reminds me, for a while I worked at a vegan like cafe restaurant type thing, and one of the focuses that we had was juice, and it used to be like franchise wide policy to include automatically a set of like plastic disposable straws with the juices when we give them to people. But thankfully, like eventually it became the policy where you only give them out when you're asked to give them to people. And I think that's a great like compromise solution. Like have them on hand if people want or need them, but don't like just automatically give them out, because it lessens their consumption by a lot, but it still gives people like the option if they want or need.
Yeah, definitely. I think it kind of encourages people to take their straw with them too, because like they're like, oh, this place doesn't just give me a straw. Like they can offer it to me, but if I have my own, then I don't need to ask for one, sort of thing. So it's just, I think it's about like training us to, you know, and training ourselves to just do things differently and like be more like aware of what we're doing on like an individual level. And then kind of expanding that into communities and then from there into governments. And then, you know, that's where we're going to see change.
Yeah. This makes me think when I used to work at the Wizarding World and I worked at the Three Broomsticks. So sometimes I would be out on the butterbeer cart and they have like the cold butterbeer and the frozen butterbeer. And for some reason, it's not for the right reasons, but like they would only give a straw in the frozen because it's like thicker. But for the cold, for some reason, like we weren't supposed to give a straw. Didn't really make sense. It's like they wanted you to have the full experience and like drink it like this.
Oh, with the foam.
So to get like the butterbeer mustache, I guess. But I just remember like people would ask for straws and we'd be like, we would like discourage them. We'd be like, oh no, it's better without the straw. And I don't think it was for like an environmental reason. So, but Universal did recently switch to paper straws. So I think that's good. I agree, paper straws are weird, but
I think they're getting better though, because I think now that more people are using paper straws, they're probably like getting better about like researching what, you know, type work best, how to make them last longer.
Now there's a demand.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I will say, related to the Universal note, I also worked in a store and every item that comes out, like you'll see it on the shelves just by itself, but pretty much every item is individually wrapped in plastic. And I just remember like being in the back and they'd bring in the like stock and there's just a huge like trash cans filled with this plastic material. And I just always was like so upset by that. And then even working like in the offices at Universal, I'm calling you out. They had like recycle bins. And I would always like take it upon myself to be kind of like the recycle bin police, because people will just throw, you know, the little like coffee creamer things.
Oh yeah.
And, like without rinsing them, they're not even recyclable, I don't think, unless you get like the TerraCycle thing. They just throw them in there with like the cream in it. And I'm like, are you serious? So I would print out signs and I would tape them above all of the recycle bins. And like, I would go in throughout the day and like pick stuff out of there. But then I learned that a lot of the people that were like collecting the trash would just combine it with the trash. And I was like, I'm doing all this work for nothing. But I do think that's an important thing that people can do. Just whatever company you work for, try to like raise awareness and improve, because especially a huge company like Universal, like the amount of waste that they produce. Like even if you eat at the Three Broomsticks, it comes on a plastic plate and then you're eating with plastic forks. And I'm like,
wait, really? It comes on plastic?
Yeah. And all of like the butterbeer cups, like the mugs are one thing, but the disposable cups, all plastic.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Nothing gets recycled. Nothing gets composted there. I don't think.
Wild. And like you said, like that's huge. And that's such a big company business, you know, if you're looking at it from that standpoint. Like anytime I go to the doctor and I see like, or like I donate blood or go to, you know, like a blood drive and I just see like all the plastic and like and I get like medical stuff is different, but I feel like there should be programs in place for like the gloves being like melted down and then like sterilized and then like some kind of something, like, because the amount of waste that happens and like because like we can do everything. Like my roommate the other day, because I had this like bag of soft plastic and I was like, I don't really want to like keep this like behind the couch anymore, but like I don't know what to do because like they're not taking it. And she's like, and I've been collecting it for like over a year, and she's like, we go through probably twice that much in 1 week at my job. So like in the grand scheme of things, you collecting this, like, cool, but it doesn't do much. And it was just like, well, like, shoot, and like I want to do more, but it's so like disheartening, I guess, and like in big picture, like how little it happens. But again, that's the whole multiple individuals doing, and then it's community, and then it's government, and it grows. So I'm not like saying just stop, obviously. But
that kind of like it's also a little disheartening that this whole pandemic has kind of caused like a reversal of a lot of policies that had helped with recycling. When honestly, I mean, we still have trash programs and people are still taking back their trash or like getting their trash picked up. Why did we feel the need to do what some experts are calling like hygiene theater and like get rid of these recycling programs? I mean, we know more about COVID right now. We know that that's not the primary way that it spreads. So why haven't these programs been reinstituted again?
Definitely. I get like at the beginning, when we didn't know what the virus was about, and when we wanted, more people staying home and like having less, interactions and everything, but like trash was still being picked up even in like the thick of it. And it just doesn't make sense that, you're absolutely right.
Yeah. And even, even in my area, like they're still not taking, like plastic grocery bags. Like the grocery stores in my area used to recycle them if you brought them back, but they're like still not doing it. And I'm like, okay, it's high time that we get back to doing that. Like it's overdue. Especially now that like a lot of people are vaccinated. We know that plastic is not a primary way that it spreads. Like now we're just being lazy and not getting these programs back into business. Like
Okay, so talk about that for a while. We can talk about food waste now, which it all kind of goes hand in hand because everything that ends up in the landfill, takes up that space, and food waste, even worse, creates methane because it's trapped in a lot of times, ironically, plastic bags. So it's just trapped and it creates methane gas. Does anybody here compost? I recently, in October, when I moved to Colorado, they have they collect compost. So it's like $6 extra a month to have a bin. And I love it. Like, I can't believe how much food waste that I produce just from like pineapple skins and stuff like that from all the veggies and fruits that I buy. So,
I'm not sure if my city actually has one, but like my family does like at least put our food in compostable bags rather than plastic ones. We used to compost, but we had like this giant drum thing, but then it like broke.
Cool. Oh,
same.
We did that for a few years and then it broke. But like that's a good workaround. Like if your local like trash thing system doesn't have a composting thing, one way that you can like personally try and lessen the issue of the methane is by using a non-plastic like compostable bag with your food waste. I mean, they're a little bit more expensive, but they're worth it in my opinion.
Just because they're made out of plants usually, so it's not more plastic being produced. And if it did happen to end up in the ocean, it's still bad, but it's not as bad as having a plastic bag floating around.
It's like biodegradable. So
right. when it comes to just throwing that in the landfill though, because to like create the compost, it needs to have soil, right?
Yeah, true.
So that doesn't necessarily like break down and become like matter, like
Right. Like if it fixes sort of like half the problem, but not the whole problem.
I know there are some locations that aren't associated with the city that do composting, so they probably like sell the soil or give it away or something. So you can look into that too.
Yeah, I'm sure there's places in my area that like do that type of stuff. Again, it's harder sometimes living in a red state in a small area to find all those things, but it's definitely like I think it would be worth it. And Nicole, you mentioned your city. Like I just remember like the restaurant I worked at there. Like we had a giant green bin for only like food waste and stuff like that. So I at least know that Toronto has a great like composting. Well, not a great, but like they have a composting.
It exists.
It exists. Yes.
Yeah, that's good.
And it was amazing actually. Like Valerie, you mentioned, you know, like not realizing how much food waste you actually go through. But like when we started using the green bin system, I was like, oh my gosh, this is a ton. Like it would be overflowing by the time the next pickup day was. And I was like, wow. And this is just from one location. Like not to mention all the others in the city. Like,
yeah, I mean, I used to like combine everything into one, like my trash, and I would have to take the trash out pretty often, like maybe once or twice a week. But now it's like my regular trash, because I have my recycling, and then my regular trash, and then my composting, like I keep it in the fridge and like the freezer until the day rolls around. But I hardly ever, like it takes a long time to fill up my trash can now, just because, you know, it's just kind of like the extra whatever stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of gross dealing with the composting, but worth it.
That reminds me of this like TikTok thing that I saw about how they deal with trash in Antarctica. And like there's like a research station where they actually have to like store all of their trash for like months because obviously there's no trash pickup in Antarctica, and they keep it in a very cold area so it doesn't like decompose or anything, and then they have to like actually like fly it out because you can't like dispose of trash in Antarctica like because of treaties and stuff like that. And it was so mind-blowing. And then like obviously there they have to be very careful about how much trash they produce. It was just like, man, like I can't ever complain about whatever system we're using now, because like, you know, that would be
at least you don't live in Antarctica.
Yeah.
Ali, you've been like trying to say something.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. That's okay. My roommates and I started composting because we were composting before the pandemic, but then again, composting stopped. A lot of places stopped accepting compost stuff in the city, but we'll take ours. We have like a calendar, and every Wednesday and Saturday, well, there's different ones all around, but like Wednesdays at Union Square, and then Saturdays at the local one by us. And so we'll kind of take shifts and take our compost, but we just have like a little thing, but it fills up, especially because like we're, you know, 3 vegans and 1 is a chef, and like we produce a lot of food and we eat a lot of food in this house. So it's nice to like be able to take it. And we do the same thing, like if a bag fills up, we'll put it in the fridge just for them in the meantime, or like the freezer. But then, I mean, we'll have like 2 or 3 bags each, like every 2. So we'll probably go through like 6 of those, like probably like this tall, you know, bags of compost a week. Those bags are kind of expensive. I'm wondering if we'll probably, next time we buy them, we'll find a different place maybe that sells them that are still good. But New York it's called Grow NYC, and they do a lot of like of the parks. They're not government, I don't think, but they like work with local like parks department and everything to like create like better composting and like community garden spaces and stuff around the city. And so we just joined as an apartment, the local community garden. And I'm not as involved in it because I kill plants like just by looking at them. But my roommate, she grows like this, I'm pointing that way and you can't see, but this like indoor garden thing, like all these herbs and stuff. And she was growing tomatoes and they like grew out of the indoor thing. And now she planted them. It's just like 2 blocks away. So she's growing like tomatoes and we'll go and like pick tomatoes for dinner and stuff. And it's kind of fun because it's like, you don't expect that in like New York City, like we're in Brooklyn and like, but there are spaces and you just, having access to them is cool. So
yeah, that's something that like when I move back out of my parents' place post-pandemic, like I want to find a community garden near my apartment and do that because also it's fresh food and you can't beat fresh food. Like
it's just fun. Like I feel like I used to be like you, Allie, or like I could not keep plants alive, but I'm doing everything I can. And I like made a makeshift like garden bed and I'm growing a bunch of things and I'm so excited.
What are you growing?
Oh gosh. So I went a little crazy and I bought a lot of seeds, but I have like 2 different types of lettuce, cabbage, broccoli, spinach, parsley. I bought pumpkin and corn and watermelon. I went crazy, but I only like planted a couple of each of those because like I don't have that much space. And then I bought some like blueberry, raspberry, and strawberry bushes, and then a bunch of like wildflowers so that the bees would come and like pollinate.
Fun.
That's so cool.
Oh, and zucchini and
Wow.
a lot.
How big is this little garden you have?
I just need an apple tree.
They're all little sprouts right now. So.
Yeah.
This is the it's like this arrow pod thing. These are fake flowers, but they come in these little, and you can see like the mint is like, well, I'm dripping, but it's like starting to grow like a little sapling. But like this is dill, so we have like fresh dill, and it's like woody now, like it's a full tree basically. And then this is parsley, I think, and then we had like chives and tomatoes and all of that, but those are all outside. This is Thai basil. This is a different species of basil back there.
What's the like brand of that?
It's Arrow Garden, AERO Garden, and it's the Bounty one. So there's 9 slots. My mom just bought one that has 12 slots, like 12, and they come just these little things. And then it's a really cool, actually, I'm gonna see if I can show you like the root system. We're like getting off topic, sorry. But the root system is so cool because you like those are all roots.
Wow.
Whoa.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's really cool the way that it like attaches, and you just like keep her nice and watered.
My cousin just bought, it's this, I don't remember what it's called, but it was pretty expensive, but it's this really tall, like white thing. And it looks like it should be in like a spaceship, but she grows so many things out of there. It's really fascinating because she lives in LA, so she has a little apartment. I think growing food is beneficial because then you won't like waste as much food because you can kind of just take what you need. But have you ever tried regrowing food like lettuce?
No.
Stuff like that you buy. It was actually Max Lamana. If you heard of him, I didn't know it was a thing and I was just so fascinated, but I have 2 rabbit companions, so I'm always buying lettuce and like veggies. But if you just chop the like very bottom and then you keep it in a bowl of water, it'll just regrow back. And it's like so cool. So
and it's like free lettuce.
Yeah, exactly.
We do that with scallions because we eat a lot of scallions, like lots of onions and scallions. So we'll grow those. And then my mom just started sprouting lentils. And she actually, I can just describe it instead of going to get them, but like a mason jar. And then it's kind of a net top instead of like the regular, just like silver, like metal top. It's basically like little netting, and you store them like upside down, and then she just like has this whole mason jar just of sprouts, and she'll just like take a bunch and like throw them in like a scramble or like in like a pasta, like a stir fry or something, or she'll just like eat
Wow.
them.
I've
And
never
it's just,
heard of that. I want to.
yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
What about you, Nicole? Do you
yeah.
do any composting or regrowing, or I mean, like, how's the resources for that, like where you are?
Like, it's something where, like, in terms of like compost and all that, I just kind of trust the city food garbage and just sort of, at that point, it goes out in the green bin once a week and then it goes away. And I'm assuming the government's charging me to do something with it, so I'm assuming they are.
Yeah.
But in terms of like regrowing food, I have tried that before, and it's like, because I had one where like I think I tried with like when I was younger, we actually had an apple tree in our backyard. That was like one that we bought. We never actually got any apples out of it because the backyard critters always got them first. But, so that's always kind of been the general thing I've had with any time I've tried to grow anything is I've grown plenty of food in my backyard. I've not eaten any of it. Something else is always eaten first.
I bought an apple tree too. That was when I was going crazy, when like all of the spring garden stuff started, because I've always wanted an apple tree. So
my mom just bought a lemon tree, and she bought like a really cool like pot for it. Cause I mean, in New York, and in Colorado too, I mean, like you're in Toronto, I mean, all of us get like snow and like cold weather and everything. So it's kind of hard to grow certain things depending on the time of year. But I guess she'll just bring it inside.
Yeah.
I don't know like how tall lemon trees grow.
Yeah.
It just reminds me of like how my grandparents had friends in Florida who had like a star fruit tree in their yard.
Oh my God.
They were moving, and so they were like, "Hey, do you all want to come over and like harvest the star fruit?" And so we like harvested all their star fruit and ate it.
Wow.
Yeah, star fruit is a thing in Florida. I don't really like it though, but it looks cool.
I love it.
I don't know. I didn't feel like it tasted very good.
Faves.
Something I just started doing was I don't know if you guys have them in your area, but it's called Imperfect Foods. And there are a few other ones. I can't remember the names, but it's just
like an ugly fruit box or something like that.
Yeah, it's like
Misfit something.
Misfit Market or something like that. It's just food that like was either too unattractive to sell or that suppliers had an excess. So it's food that would end up being thrown out. And instead of going to the market and buying food, you're kind of saving this produce. And I just got my first box yesterday, and I love it. And nothing was really like ugly. Like there were a couple of blemishes on a couple of things, but overall everything looked fine. So that's just kind of like another thing you can do. I accidentally bought 4 pounds of potatoes instead of 4 potatoes. I thought I was buying 4 potatoes, but now I have 4 pounds.
I saw that on Discord.
Oh, potatoes.
It made me laugh. We kind of had the opposite problem once. My roommate was going through her imperfect order, because you get to like customize it every week. Yeah. And she started and she got rid of a bunch of things, but she didn't add anything. And so she got a box with 1 lime in it once. And we were like, are you kidding? And she called them, and it charged her like 50 cents for the lime and then $5 for shipping. And so she called them and was like, shoot, like, did you already send it out? And they're like, yeah, we already sent it, but don't worry, like, we'll reimburse you. But it came with like, I think they added like an avocado and like a potato, but it was literally just like 3 things in this box. And it was like, oh my gosh.
Oh, wow.
That hurts my heart, because like, I know that like I've been trying to like lessen the amount of shipping I do.
Yeah.
Because of the carbon footprint of it. So like to try and like, do the best you can to like get food that's not going to be wasted, and then have it like the shipping only ship you like 1 or 2 items like that.
Yeah, it sucked. We were just all like, oh my God, I felt so bad, because we go to the farmers market as much as we can for like local stuff. And then like yesterday I needed something for my roller skates, and I was like, oh, I can just ship it and like have it here tomorrow and it'll be fine. And I was like, no, let me like go to a skate shop. And like I went, and it was just like, but like these are the little actions like start to build up, and like they can be annoying, but at the same time, like, I mean, they're necessary. So
Yeah, I think it's like, I mean, this is such a different topic, but like the culture of instant gratification and shipping, and like instant shipping, and like, you know, shipping things in multiple different packages instead of, you know, waiting to have all of them at the warehouse so that they can all ship to you at once. Like, I think that's such a huge, huge problem.
yeah,
It definitely
no,
is.
it is. And like, I don't know about other companies, but I know like Target takes, if you buy stuff from them,
I know what she's saying.
if you like wait to have them in less packages.
Allie,
And so I always
froze for a second.
Oh, sorry.
If you want to repeat that.
Yeah, I don't know. I said my internet's unstable. I don't know why that is, but oh well. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So like for Target, you can choose, you get like $1 off if you choose the, you know, send my stuff in less packages. And so, but then I did that and I still got like 5 packages. And I'm like, I chose, and it's so annoying because it's like, I don't care. Like, I don't need this. Like, none of this is urgent. Like, wait till it's all there. But like, it's just this efficiency and just like this rapid, you know, everything is so fast at these warehouses, and Target's just trying to make a buck by like getting everything out and like not having it. So I don't know. It's frustrating though.
I had the same problem. I tried to do the, you know, less packaging thing, and then got like 3 or 4 separate items in separate packages. And I was like, why did I check that box then if you're not going to do it?
Yeah. And it'll be like an eyeliner in like a box with like all this plastic and like paper and like in a giant like shoebox size. And I'm like, that's like, no. So,
I mean, fortunately, a lot of like the shipping stuff nowadays is like either like the packaging is recyclable or reusable. But it's still such a waste. Like,
yeah, like who actually saves? I feel like a lot of people
I
don't really save. I do. I have. Oh my gosh!
I save all of my shipping stuff.
Yeah,
so
I just moved it all out of my garage the other day. I have so many boxes full. But I know Amazon is like not great, but they do that too, where you can like have it all sent together. So at least it's an option.
Yeah.
But
I mean, that's,
I think, oh, sorry. I was real quick. I think that stores do also is you can have something shipped to the store and then go pick it up. And like that comes in less packaging, I think, because they just put like all of the stuff, like your stuff isn't sent to the store individually. I don't think it's like from a warehouse. So that could also limit, you know, if you like can't get it, if it's not at your local store, you can have it shipped there, and then it'll probably be shipped with like a bunch of other stuff, which kind of helps. But then like you drive your car to get there, and it's just like, like, what are we, I don't know. There's like so many things.
Yeah. I mean, with impossible foods, or not impossible, imperfect foods, they like deliver to each area on a certain day. So they, you know, they're not like going back and forth all the time. They do it all in like one trip. So they try to be as sustainable as possible with that. So that's good.
Yeah, that's a good system.
And then
Allie mentioned, you know, farmers markets, like that's another
farmers
way.
markets.
Yeah. And then you can, you know, even if you have questions about, oh, are these organic? Do you use pesticides? Because I know some people, including myself, are like very picky about that. You know, then you can ask the farmers themselves, like, you know, how do you grow your food? And like, yeah, it's a great way to support local economy as well.
Yeah, definitely. Do any of you have bulk stores near you?
Not near me. Like there's some in the city near me, but like you have to drive like half an hour to get there.
Yeah.
I wish we had one closer, but
There are quite a few, I think, in the city. And it's cute. A lot of like the local cafes near me, like the vegan cafes, there's like Clementine and Guevara's, Stone Fruit. It's not totally vegan, but they have a lot. They're like vegan cafes. So they have like donuts and like croissants and like cute things. And then they're also plant stores, and you can go and buy plants, but then they're also like grocery stores, and they have like little, I mean, small, it's probably like the size of a living room or something, but they have like the little, you know, the fridges with different vegan options and like home goods and stuff. And I know at least Guevara's has like big tubs for like shampoo and conditioner, and I forget like what the brand is, and like dish soap and stuff like that, so you can like take your mason jars and like fill them up with that. And then the other one has like like potatoes and onions and just kind of like your sort of staple foods, I guess. So it's sort of like a forever farmers market. Like it's not on specific days, but they buy like in bulk, and then you can buy from them, which is cool.
I know there's like a store like that in Toronto, but I'm forgetting the name of it, and I've never actually been to it. I think it's easier to definitely find those in bigger cities for sure.
Yeah, smaller places have like co-ops and stuff, and those are nice. Like by Woodstock Sanctuary where I used to work, there was a co-op down the road that I would go to sometimes, and they'd have some bulk bins for like nuts and stuff. So that was, and like pasta.
Yeah.
I mean, even a lot of grocery stores like Whole Foods have like a little section.
Yeah.
They don't have as many options as the local stores.
Yeah, even like Kroger's and like Myers, some of them have like a tiny bulk section.
Yeah.
But it's usually like dry goods, like cereals and nuts and snack things and stuff like that. It's not like there's no like refill stuff for like soaps and detergents and shampoos and all that stuff.
Yeah. I have a bulk store I go to. It gives me so much satisfaction because it's like pasta jars, like I'll keep them and then I fill them up, and I don't know, it makes me happy.
Yeah.
But I recently was wondering, like, what does their products, like, what does it come in? Does it come in any plastic? Or like, like behind the scenes before it gets into the little bulk things, what does it come in? Do they reuse it? And it seems like they mostly come in like big paper. Well, it has to be lined with plastic on the inside, I think. But as far as like the liquids, mine has a lot of, they're like these huge barrel things, and you kind of like pump it out. So they have to be reusing those. But yeah, buying just like soap bars and stuff instead of like a plastic bottle of soap. It's just little things you can do.
Yeah. And I think we mentioned this on our blog about, or like the social posts about like shampoo and conditioners come in bars sometimes too, rather than like getting them in plastic bottles and pump bottles and stuff like that.
Yeah, and they have like I know at Lush they have those like tooth tabs also, like the little toothpaste tabs.
I love those.
What brand do you use? Because I tried one and I hated them.
For the toothpaste ones?
Yeah.
Right now I don't use those. I have it's like Hello brand, and I think it's plastic, like a container, but Lush, the beauty
is it just like their brand?
Yeah, they just have them, and there's like different flavors, and I had like a charcoal one and like a pomegranate one or something.
You're gonna need to send me a link to that.
Yeah, the ones that I've tried are just like really weird and gross, and I can't do it.
No, these ones are fun. I don't know if they have like fluoride and stuff, so like I don't know if you need extra stuff for your teeth, like, I have like my one like healthy good toothpaste, and then I have like my one like stronger, that's still vegan and like cruelty free, but like it's not my everyday one, I guess. But anyway, the toothy tabs, they taste yummy. There's like lemon lime ones and stuff. They're cool.
I have like this tin of tooth powder that I got, and I can't remember. It's actually it's up in my apartment in Toronto, but like it was like styled after like the tooth powders that people used to use like over 100 years ago, and it's really cool because like once the tooth powder has like been all used up, I can keep the tin for like other things.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like a cute little keepsake.
I order some stuff. It's like it's local to me, but it's called Earth Hero. They're in Boulder, and they have like zero waste like deodorant, and it just comes in like a cardboard thing.
Oh.
And that's where I get like my compost bags and everything. So there are some online stores if you don't have anywhere local where you can find a lot of cool stuff, like my sponges are compostable, and I don't know, they just have a lot of cool things.
Yeah, there's
So,
all these little things we can do to
yeah,
make a difference.
and it's kind of fun because I think being entirely zero waste is like, I don't want to say impossible, but I was even thinking the other day, I was like changing out the air filter for my like air conditioner, and I'm like, I have to throw this old one away. Like, what do people that are zero waste do? Like,
Yeah.
that's you can't really not change your air filter and stuff like that. But that's why it's good to see all of these different brands coming out with zero waste options.
Mm-hmm.
So what is everyone, do you have just like something you're struggling with the most, or something you're like currently working towards to improve right now?
Yeah, actually, now that you mention it, one of the big things I think from this pandemic that I've like struggled to come to terms with, and especially because I have OCD, is that I've been using a lot of like Clorox wipes and Lysol wipes to like clean everything. And for the longest time, the only ones available in my area were like the non-biodegradable ones. And like when I think about how many I've used over the past year, I'm just like, oh my God, that's a lot. Like, it was helping me feel safe, but it was also creating a lot of trash. But fortunately, like, I just found out that our local grocery store is like stocking biodegradable ones now. So I was like, yes,
That's
finally.
cool.
I don't have to feel bad anymore.
I didn't know that existed, so that's cool.
They're new. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I keep reading you can make like your own like all-purpose just like cleaning spray with vinegar and like orange peels or lemon peels. So I'm gonna try that and see how that goes.
Well, even like I think, I mean, if I were really being like what's the word, smart about it, I could have made my own like bleach spray, like with 10 parts water, 1 part bleach, and use that in like a rag.
Yeah.
But I'm not smart, so I didn't.
No, you are. It's okay. Like, that they're effective.
Yeah. So now I'm like, making myself sort of like focus on that as what I want to fix in my own.
I think it's good to just focus on one little thing at a time. And then eventually, there won't be much else to do.
So yeah, that's my big thing. What about yours?
For me, I am trying to like learn how to make things more homemade, like I don't know, like baking, instead of buying like a pre-made cake mix that's in a cardboard box in a plastic bag. Just go to the bulk store, buy the sugar, buy the flour, and like make it myself. And then just trying to like cut down on the like snacks in plastic packaging. And I guess the main one for me, which I've said before, is chips. I love chips. I can't, like, that's why I bought that TerraCycle thing, so that I could like have an excuse to keep eating so many chips. But now I have 4 pounds of potatoes, so I'm going to
make all the chips you want.
Exactly. I tried once with my air fryer, but it's like really hard to cut them thin enough. So I found a mandolin at like a Goodwill. So gonna try to make some chips from scratch. Yeah.
Ellie, what about you?
I don't know. I guess it's not really like waste, I guess, but it was just hard at the beginning of the pandemic to like buy, hand sanitizer and like wipes and, like Lysol and germicide and stuff that I know aren't like cruelty free or like vegan or anything. And that's something that like, I think as vegans, it's hard, but it's one of those things where like, the medicine that we take was at one point tested on animals. And it's like, we have to make these sort of decisions that like aren't easy, but like they're necessary, you know? So like I had my natural vinegar and like lemon something mix that I usually use to mop the floors, but then I added like a bit of like germicide that I know is like more harmful for the environment and more harmful, you know, but that's kind of the point, is that it's harmful because I wanted to kill like when we didn't know what COVID was, like, and it was just like, is it on the floor? Is it like in our air? Like, you know, but I guess, I don't know. I think at the beginning of the pandemic, I was ordering a lot of food, like for delivery, and not like at restaurants, but like from Whole Foods and from like grocery stores. And they came in, you know, those like, silver, like insulated bags, like the puffy bags and stuff. And so there was a lot more waste, I think, from that. But since the last couple of months, I've been going to the stores more. But I got like really spoiled with just having my groceries delivered. And then I was just, even like when I was like, yeah, it's probably fine. Like I was like, no, I'll just order like just in case. And then it's like, and then it comes in like all the paper packaging and then like the plastics inside. And like when I go to the grocery store, I don't put my vegetables in those plastic bags that they offer. Like I just put them in the cart, or like I bring my own little bags. And so every single, like I ordered like a zucchini and like 2 ears of corn. That sounded weird. Yeah. Okay. And then like broccoli, and they each came in like their own separate plastic, like anytime that I ordered from grocery store to be delivered. That would stress me out so much. Yeah. And I'm just like, I hate this. I try to like save them and use them as like, you know, bathroom trash, like bags or something like that. And reuse stuff as much as possible. But that was probably what I struggled with the most for that. So yeah.
It's so weird. Like, I guess same with like veganism, but once you become aware of all of these things and then you like look around and you see, like if I go to the grocery store and I see people just like grabbing those bags, I'm like, oh, what are they doing?
You don't need that.
But then I'm like, I used to do that, you know. Yeah. But like once you start really caring, it's like you can't go back, and then you're like, everything is like, But anyway, Nicole, what are you doing? Or what is
my biggest one now is like takeout stuff, just because like with COVID, everything's closed and everything is still closed, and takeout's the only thing that gives me a way to get out of the house. So it's something where it's like, it's both like oh hey, it'd be really nice to get food, and also it would be really nice to see another human being. And it's sort of like at this point comes with a lot of like associated trash. Yeah. It's like, it, you know, with takeout, you're most of the time like, you know, it's not like you can give them, here, put it in my containers and let me take it home. Like if I went to those same restaurants and like ordered it to eat there and then sort of like had leftovers, I could just put into my own thing. But for takeout, there's no put it in my thing instead. It is just going to be in their container. And it's like, well, my choices are either like live in isolation and never take, and just like not eat at local restaurants, or just bring all this trash home. And it's like, trash it is, I guess.
Yeah, it's tough. I order like whenever I order food to be delivered, it's through an app usually, like 9 times out of 10. And it's harder. I think Uber Eats now has the option to click, and it's like, I think you have to click, yes, I want utensils. And so like by default, they don't give you as much stuff, which is really nice. But like when I was at my parents' house, or anytime I go home, we order from this one sushi place. And on the phone, I always say like, please, you know, we don't need the utensils and the napkins. We don't need like the soy sauce packets. Like because they like give it as if you're like picnicking and like you need all of this stuff, but it's like, I'm taking it to my house where I have all of this stuff. And like, I really don't need, it's not like takeout to, you know, because I don't have forks in my house, it's takeout, you know, just, yeah. And so it's, whenever I order like over the phone, I can ask that, but like on apps and stuff like Seamless and Grubhub and everything, when you're in the city, you can't always, like, I'll always write that in the note and like hope for the best. And like, sometimes I don't get anything and it's like, sweet, you know, and sometimes I get like you know, because I order enough for maybe like leftovers and they think there's like 10 of me. And so they'll give me like 5 forks and I'm just like, it's just me. And like, I have forks, like I don't need, you know, so then I keep them all. And I just have a drawer in my house just full of like plastic, you know, like forks and knives and like not reusable. Like, I mean, I reuse them, but you know, these like single-use plastic stuff. And it's like, I'm never going to need these, but I feel so bad just like throwing them out because like a lot of this can't be recycled. So I want to like find a place to donate to, or like, I don't know, some kind of, there should be like a pickup process for that sort of like plastic cutlery and stuff.
I always have dilemmas like when you're like eating at a restaurant, back when that was a thing, like when they bring you the straws and stuff. And I usually just, I mean, I have my own straws, but I usually just drink off the cup. But like they'll set them down on the table and then I'm like, and I try to leave them like on the side of the table so that they know I didn't touch them. But then I'm like, they're probably just going to throw them away anyway. And it's kind of hard. I always want to be like, don't give me a straw. Like they're bringing it. I'm like, no.
Yeah. I
don't want to be rude.
Yeah. I usually say like, oh, I won't need the straw. Thanks. So like when they bring it, because that way like it hasn't been sitting there, because like I could be playing with it, it could have like water on it, like, but if they can take it immediately, then they'll probably save it
for the next person.
And
it's also like depending on the restaurant, like some of them actually like make sure to use like recyclable or compostable like containers for their food, but then others will just use, you know, like styrofoam or plastic. And it's like you can't, I mean, you can always ask and see like which restaurants use good packaging and which don't, but like, I mean, I'm not going to tell you to not get food from somewhere if you really have a craving. Like,
a lot of the compostable stuff too is like, I forget what it's called. It's like industrial composting. Like it's not just like in like dirt. It has to be like heated to a certain degree or whatever. So even if it's like,
that's not like food compost.
Yeah. It's like, oh sweet, like this is a compostable fork, but like I can't put it in my compost. And like if I throw it out, it's just gonna like it might biodegrade faster than like plastic, but it's still gonna be there for like a really long time. And it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Very true. Well, wow, we've been talking for a while. It's fun. I mean, we could go on and on. I didn't even ask the Wizarding World question, but I'm not going to because we have to go. But Nicole, thank you for joining us. You are the best.
Yeah.
For anyone, for anyone who's watching this on YouTube, feel free to join our Discord. The link is going to be in the description, and we have a nice little community building over there, and we talk about this sort of stuff together. So yeah, please join us there, and be sure to keep following our social accounts. We still have about a week and a half left of our environmental campaign going on, so we'll be talking about some different subjects. And thanks for watching. It's been a great discussion, and I hope that you learned a few things, and let us know what you're doing to be more sustainable. You can comment, and so thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Oh yeah, Allie, should you do your ceremonial?
Do you have scissors, Allie?
Of the
that works too.
Yes.
What a way to end.
50 points to House of Serpent. That's stretching it a little. Oh wow. Ta-da!
That's how you do it.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Bye, Nicole. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Thank you.